My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this month's episode, I'm in the southwest of England, on Dartmoor, exploring the middle of the North Moor. My start point is Willsworthy Range Car Park, postcode EX204AL, grid reference SX51828348. What 3 words? Modem, amuse, snapping. I head northeast over White Hill, Ger Tor and Amicum Hill, then east via Ridge and Little Kneeset to Cranmere Pool in the very remotest part of the North Moor. From there I turn south via the peat passes on Black Ridge and Little Kneeset to Fur Tor. I do an out and back to Bag Cut Hill, then camp overnight at Fur Tor. On day 2 I follow the range poles westward and then Fur Tor Brook down to Watern Oke. I walk along the edge of Tavy Cleave via Ger Tor, then go northwest following the Mine Leat along to Willsworthy ranges and back to the car. Total distance 27.3 kilometres. Total height gain 802 metres. Total walking time 8 hours and 25 minutes. Willsworthy Range Car Park. Free, no gates, about 25 to 30 spaces. During the school holidays, so there might be a few people about, although it is a weekday. These guys are out for a ride. The part of the moor where I'm going, I'm not expecting it to be too busy. This area is called Willsworthy Range because it is indeed a range, shooting range that is. You can find on the internet, if you look up Dartmoor firing times, when they're going to be shooting. So you don't want to come on those days. They never do during the school holidays, which is partly why I'm here today. And that's why these guys are safe from becoming a couple of tons of prime beef, today at least. Coming up to the top of White Hill, and on top of it here is a flagpole used by the military to signal when there's firing. So if there was firing today, there would be a red flag on top of that. No flag, so it's safe to walk. I really don't advise coming up here when the red flags are up. No one will stop you, although a piece of flying lead might. From there, the first part of the route, I've walked plenty of times, both ways, going up to Ger Tor. On the way up, we get a great view of the Western Tors. Tor with Widgery Cross on top in the background there. Ger Tor in the foreground. Great Links Tor way up on the hill there. Sharp Tor, much closer. And then my current destination, Ger Tor. Nearly at Ger Tor now. Time to enjoy this staggeringly good view of West Devon, which I'll lose once I go over the top of the ridge. There's a couple of other people enjoying it from a rather different vantage point. I'm now at Ger Tor. No need to go up to the range flagpole on the top. Been there before. And that's the largest height gain leg of the whole route behind me, so I'm quite happy about that. Dropping down towards Rattlebrook now, and then the hill opposite is Amicum Hill. There are 3 streams that run up from the point where I'm going to cross Rattlebrook, and I want to follow the middle one of those. So I'm taking note of it from the hillside above, where I can get a really good view of it, because down there I'll be too close. Rattlebrook itself is running quite nicely, which reassures me that I won't struggle to collect water later on. Amicum Hill is full of rather horrible, reedy, marshy, soft, wet bits that you can stumble into and spend ages fighting your way out of. I've always found that, counterintuitively, it's best to stick close to the streams. I don't know exactly why, but that's where the best walking is. I'm guessing that if all the water flows down into a defined channel, the banks either side dry out, whereas where it lies in pools, that's where it gets marshy. Anyway, that's what I'm doing at the moment, following the stream up Amicum Hill. A little bit of caution called for here. Cows with calves, they get a bit protective if you go too near. So just keep plodding on slowly. Take a detour around the calves where you can. All the wildlife's out today. A lone pony hanging out with the cows. Coming down off the other side of Amicum Hill, same trick as before. Look at the next hill from a distance, pick out the paths. So that's Great Kneeset ahead, and we can see the nice obvious path going up it. This is the col between Amicum Hill and Great Kneeset. This gets very, very wet. It's impassable in the winter. And yet, in this year's 10 Tours 2025, every route came this way. So we are nowhere near the worst ground we're going to encounter on this walk just yet. Tributaries for 2 major rivers start here. Half a kilometre that way, northward, the water that flows down from here joins the West Oakman. And then in the other direction, southward, the water that flows out of there becomes Amicum Brook, and that flows into the River Tavy. Heading up the side of Great Kneeset, the ground is not great. I'm basically trying to stay on the grass and off the moss, as the moss tells me where most of the moisture is. And it's squelchy, even in late summer after a dry year. You have to be careful with your feet. I'll just remind you, we're not at the worst part yet. This year, every 10 Tours 35-mile route came this way. Should you come across a bit with this much moss, you go round it. There's no way I'm going to try and walk through there. Coming up onto the top of Great Kneeset now. And then we can see the big empty centre of the North Moor. Well ahead of schedule at Great Kneeset, so time for lunch and of course coffee. Cheers. Coming off Great Kneeset now and off the 10 Tors routes. There's a path at the moment, quite a good path, and it looks like it goes on further ahead, but we'll see what it turns into as we go on. This walk comes with the caveat that I may at any point, if I decide it's too dangerous, turn back. I am after all on my own. This year, 2025, has been one of the driest I've known, and the moor is as dry as I've ever known it since I started walking it. I did actually cross this part of the moor earlier in the year, so I know that it can be done, and we've now had a dry late spring and summer since then, so I'm reasonably confident that I can traverse it. It is only in these conditions that I would attempt it, especially alone, and as I said, if I decide there's any danger, I'll be coming back, because there is no one with me to pull me out of any bog I might fall into. So let's see how we go. A bit further on, I'm coming past large pools of stagnant water. The ground I'm walking on is tussocky grass really, just the occasional bit of squelchiness, but nothing worrying in the middle. I've come up to a big gully now, and then when I get just over there, I should be at my next objective. Evidence of human work here. Huge logs laid across, and this is to retain the water in order to preserve the peatlands. Must have been a hell of a job to get those logs here. We're a long way from any trees. I've arrived now at Cranmere Pool. The small stone construction there we'll deal with in a minute. Where, I hear you ask, is the pool? But Cranmere Pool, since at least the early 18th century, according to the earliest Dartmoor guides, has actually been empty and is only ever full after serious rainfall. The fact that it is normally dry can be attested by the presence of a couple of quite well-worn paths right across it. They wouldn't be possible if it was usually full of water, and yet on the Ordnance Survey map it is shown as a body of water. The legend of how Cranmere Pool came to be empty concerns one Benjamin Ger, 5 times Mayor of Okehampton in the 17th century, but also a notorious sheep rustler. He was caught for that crime and sentenced to bail out Cranmere Pool with a sieve. But being clever, he stole another sheep, killed it, put its skin over the sieve, and all the water he bailed out flooded Okehampton. For that, he was sentenced to hanging on nearby Hanging Stone Hill. Apparently, his soul was sentenced to spin all the sand in the bottom of the pool into rope, and that proved beyond his wit. So, if you're nearby overnight, which I will be, you can hear his cries of anguish and despair. I'll be listening out for them. And now to the stone construction I mentioned. This is Cranmere Pool letterbox, and I need to introduce you to the pastime of letterboxing, which originated right here. As it is now, letterboxers carry a pad and a stamp, and each letterbox contains a pad and a stamp. And when the letterboxer gets to the letterbox, he stamps the letterbox's pad and stamps his pad with the letterbox's stamp, thus exchanging, proving who has been where. It started slightly differently. In 1854, James Perrott, the famous Dartmoor guide from Chagford, built a cairn on this very spot and left a bottle with a card in it with a stamp and an address, with the idea that the next person to find it should put that in the post. And this caught on. People would come along and leave stamped addressed cards, and then when they received them, they would know when the next visitor after them had arrived at this location. So that's why it's called letterboxing. The one here, the original, is not a secret, but others are. You can get a catalogue, and I will link to the Dartmoor letterboxing site in the comments, but the catalogue doesn't tell you exactly where they are, it just gives you clues. You have to find them. This one I can safely reveal the location of because it's on the Ordnance Survey map, bearing in mind that the whole sport of letterboxing, which is extremely popular, started right here. It is effectively a historical monument. Inside this one, at the moment, there is only a notice that it's not in use, unfortunately. There is a temporary wooden one, which I'll look at in a minute, just up the hill. And the reason for that is we saw some of the peatland restoration work, and they're clearly worried that this might flood because of that and submerge the letterbox. So the temporary one is a little way up the hill, safer for hikers to get to. Here is the temporary letterbox, a little way up the hill. If we take a look inside here, we find what we would expect to find. In here, there's in fact more than one stamp. There are a number of them. There's also an ink pad in there. And in this one, we find the visitor's book with its own Cranmere Pool embossed cover. There's some other stuff in there as well, keepsakes, letters, that kind of thing. I'm not going to mess around with it too much because I'm not letterboxing. I'm going to leave that pleasure for those of you who decide you might want to take it up to enjoy when you get here. Just a thought on letterboxing as I come away from the Cranmere Pool letterbox. Doesn't all that stuff get vandalised, left lying around in letterboxes? Well, no. And the reason why not is because they're hard to get to. It's been a hell of a job to get to the Cranmere Pool one, and that's one of the more obvious ones. Anybody who would behave like that, ruin other people's fun, basically, is not the sort of person with enough about them to get to those locations. And that's why it works. If you think it looks like there's a channel going up through the peat here, you would be right. This is a peat pass. They have featured on the channel before, but we need to have a little bit of a recap. Frank Philpotts was a lawyer in Victorian times, a very high-powered lawyer, practiced in the Chancery Courts, made a lot of money. Then, caught a chill, didn't bother to get any treatment, lost his hearing, couldn't do that anymore. So he retired to Dartmoor. He was able to practice here, but his real passion here was horse riding and other country sports, and he loved to ride out on the moor. And it frustrated him that there were some bits that were impassable. He had a lot of money, so he employed some guys to come up and dig channels through the peat down to the granite in the impassable areas. And those are the peat passes. There are about a dozen of them. Not all down to Philpotts, but most. When Philpotts died in 1909, his brother and son put some granite stones with plaques on at the end of each of the passes as a memorial to him. They are not all still visible. Thankfully, this one at the end of the Black Ridge peat pass is today. But they come and go. Plants grow, they die, they rot, the peat grows, covers them up. Weather comes along, storms, wind, erodes it away, uncovers them again. So they come and go. You can never guarantee finding one. It's always good when you do. And here's a close-up on that plaque. Walking along the peat pass now, there is a sort of path. It is extremely rough though. They definitely vary in quality. The best one is the one at White Horse Hill, but that one is maintained by the military so they can get trucks out to their observation post at Quintin's Man. Ones like this that are in the middle of nowhere have just been left to rot really. The drainage channels fill up with peat and then they just get very overgrown and very uneven. The peat pass was in fact so indistinct that I managed to wander out of it and had to do a bit of a navigation adjustment. It just goes to show that it's not really that reliable. I'm out the other end of the peat pass now, and I'm heading down towards what is marked on the map as the ruin of a tinner's hut. There's a little brook there. The presence of a ruin normally means that there's some sort of place where you can cross, and that'll take me over onto Little Kneeset. The walk in here is not boggy actually, long tussocky grass though, very tiring, saps the energy from your legs. And here is that crossing. Nice and easy, with a few big features. I'm up on Little Kneeset now, and I found the start of the peat pass there. It's another Philpotts one because here's its memorial stone. Walking along it now again. This one not in great repair. There's a sort of path. It's pretty rough. Coming out of the other end of the Little Kneeset peat pass, I've got lucky with the memorial stone again. Looking the other way, my first close-ish up view of my night's stop, Fur Tor. And given the boggy, inaccessible part of the moor that it's in, it is a very fine example of a tour, certainly from here. Really looking forward to seeing it close up. I've hit the ford over Cutcombe Water just right. Nice easy crossing and a useful place to collect water. The least fun part of any wild camping route, the climb up to your campsite after you've added 4 kilos of water to your bag. But best foot forward, think about taking the bag off at the top. Arriving on the top of Fur Tor now. There are an awful lot of outcrops up here. Might take a while to find a camping spot. Spoiled for choice. Base camp is established in the lee of the biggest outcrop on the tour. Before I can settle down though, I've got one more place to visit. Little 1k out, 1k back to the joint third highest point on the moor, somewhere I've never been. Obviously don't want to get that close to it and not bag it, so I'm going to knock that one off before I settle down for the evening. And it will be a nice little evening stroll because no rucksack. Tent's up, all my kit's in it. It will be safe there for as long as it will take me to get over there and back. So why do I want to carry all that around? It turns out, unlike a lot of this middle of the moor area, that once you get up here, there are decent paths. Certainly between Fur Tor and Cut Hill. Immensely helped by the fact that I'm on the boundary of one of the military firing ranges here. Two of them in fact. Oakhampton and Maryvale meets here, and usually where there are firing range poles there's a path, so that's useful. The range boundary heads almost directly up to the top, so super convenient. So this cairn marks the top of Cut Hill, 603 metres, joint third highest point on Dartmoor. Interesting point, High Willhays, Yes Tor, Hanging Stone Hill, Cut Hill. Only one of them is a tor. Tors don't rule. From here, great views over to the eastern side of the moor and over East Devon. Just down there, there is another peat pass with the rather grandiloquent name Northwest Passage. I'm not going to bother to go and find it. It's getting a bit late now. I want to get back to my tent, really. What there should be, stretching away from the top in a northeasterly direction, is a row of recumbent stones, i.e. lying down. We're put here standing up around 3500 BC, only discovered in 2004. And there had been no previous evidence of prehistoric life in this area before they were found. And I think this is them. They're in a row northeast to southwest, which interestingly is the same direction as the stone row at Stonehenge. Coming back up to base camp at Fur Tor now. So that's my perambulating done for the day. And I can settle down and get some food and chill out a bit. I think I might leave scenery shots to the morning. A bit cloudy tonight, light not good enough. Back at the tent now and I can chill out. Stove on, gaiters off, and feeling quite good. The prospects are not looking too great for sunset tonight. Cloud all the way to the horizon, so we'll probably just get gradually dimming shades of grey. Looking the other way, the horizon's much clearer in the east, so we might get a decent sunrise in the morning. It is in general quite a gloomy evening, so no good scenery shots available really. I have neighbours on the tour as well, just coming into shot now. Seem like good lads. What I can certainly capture now is this tour itself. There are loads of good wild camping locations up here. Lots of rock outcrops, loads of places in the lee of the wind. It is a really good spot. If we just come up over the top of this one, loads more on the other side, and a great view over towards Cut Hill. The outcrop that I'm tucked in behind is a pretty impressive one. There's a little spot here that would be absolutely excellent if the wind was coming from the other direction. Under that piece of rock that sticks out there is a perfect bivvy spot. You can lay out full length and be covered even from rain. Over on the western side of the Tor, again, more rocks, loads of cubby holes, excellent for bivvying. some really good spots for wild camping. And I'm just coming round here now to be sociable with my neighbours, Tom, Dom and Ryan. Alright guys,
hello. Perfect.
Keep watching the channel.
We will, don't worry. Paul prevent relates.
Yeah, that's the one. As I suspected, no sunset, too many clouds in the west. But the red sunlight is reflecting nicely off the clouds away to the east here. So we've got rather a beautiful evening sky. No sunset tonight, but a pretty good moon peeping out from behind the clouds over there. Not quite a full moon tonight, that's tomorrow, and apparently it's the sturgeon moon, so named by North American Indians, round about the right time of year to catch sturgeon in the lakes there. A cloudy dawn this morning, just a couple of patches of red sky to look at. And then the cloud arrives on the Tor itself and obscures even that. That's just how it goes sometimes. Not the greatest sunrise ever, but I do at least have coffee. Cheers. In the time it's taken me to have breakfast and pack up, the clouds have lifted, the sun's come out, revealing the North Moor in all its glory. There can't be many better places from which to view all its high spots. The third highest here, Cut Hill, where I was last night. But we can see all the most spectacular ones from here. Way off to the north, the highest and second highest point of Dartmoor, High Willhays and Ger Tor. The other way, to the south, Great Ridge Tor sprawls across the hilltop. Standing sentry to the northwest, Great Links Tor. Tom, Dom and Ryan aren't up yet, but it's not them I'm looking at here. It's Ger Tor away to the west, where I was yesterday. All packed up now, and this is where I was. Obviously, no trace left. I'm following the range poles westward here. There's usually a path along them because they're on the map and so many people use them to find their way. I have to say there is a path, but really not much of one. It's extremely rough. But then again, we are right out in the middle of the moor here. It presents no problem at all to the ponies. If a bit of tussocky grass gets in their way, they just eat it. I'm at Fur Tor Brook now, debating whether or not to cross. There are lots of quite easy fords along here, but I imagine it's a lot shallower now than it normally is. But the walking looks better further on this side, so I'm going to stick with this side. This really is a classic Dartmoor brook, with water cascading between massive granite boulders, making that beautiful sound. The walking's got a bit rough this side now, so I'm going to cross using this handy little ford I've just found. Well, that wasn't as easy as it looked, but at least I now don't have to walk in that horrible reedy, marshy, tussocky stuff over there. From this side, nice view back up the stream, and then looking all the way back up to Fur Tor. I've just recrossed again using this boulder crossing here, and I've used my sticks. These boulder crossings can be a little bit dangerous, especially when you're on your own. One slip, hit your head on a rock, who knows what could happen. There are a lot of interesting looking mushrooms growing in this part of the moor at the moment. I've come across this rather psychedelic sheep, and I'm taking some video of it to prove it's real. Because if I tell people that I saw this just after I found the mushrooms, they may jump to some very wrong conclusions. I'm now at the point where Fur Tor Brook meets Amicum Brook, and here, and marked on the map, is Sandy Ford, and this is going to be sticks out again. I'm walking alongside Amicum Brook here towards Watern Oke. Nice easy walk in here. Short grass, rocky, but nothing that I need to clamber over. Watern Oke, and here there are lots of hut circles, stones laid out in rough circles. It's the remains of an Iron Age settlement. A lot of the stone will have been taken away for dry stone walling and the like elsewhere, so it's just really the foundations that are left. Part of the attraction for living here, obviously, would have been the availability of building materials. These rocks are just lying around everywhere. And the other part would have been the river. As with everywhere on Dartmoor, it provides a nice steady supply of water. Here's another one. I've seen a lot of hut circles in my time walking on Dartmoor. I have to say these are probably the best preserved, most obvious ones that I've seen. If you are interested in Iron Age archaeology and history, this place, Watern Oke, would be well worth a visit. bottom end of Amercombe Hill now. Gone past all the rocks. There is a path here. It's not very distinct, but it exists. And I'm looking now for a spot where I'm going to cross Rattlebrook and get up on the other side. I'm looking now along Tavy Cleave, and particularly the impressive rock formations on the north side of it, which I will be walking past fairly shortly. That path around the bottom end of Amercombe Hill turned into a very nicely defined one. Just brought me around and down to Rattlebrook at a very easy looking ford. Safely forded, time for a coffee. Cheers. Heading up the other side. There's some motorised agriculture going on here. I've now managed to locate the path I needed that contours around the bottom end of Rattlebrook Hill and should take me most of the way to Ger Tor. I've gained enough height now that I can look back and see Fur Tor, which looks an awful long way behind me now. As I come along the track, a great distance view of Tavy Cleave. Arriving at the first outcrops, but these are only small ones. The biggest one and the most spectacular one is in the distance there. Made more spectacular by the way it hangs off the edge of one side of Tavy Cleave. That's an irresistible invitation for any dyed-in-the-wool scrambler, but it's not one that I'll be taking up. From the other side, not quite as dramatic, but still pretty good. Heading for Ger Tor now, and there is a path here, not greatly obvious, but it's there if you concentrate, and it's way easier than the walking in the middle of the moor. Arriving now at Ger Tor. It's on the edge of the Willsworthy military firing range, hence the flagpole, and you can just see the top of one of those grey boxy military huts poking out there as well. Ger Tor, not that difficult to get on top of. And it's well worth doing for the views. That view across West Devon that I lost yesterday morning when I went over the ridge by Ger Tor is back in some style. coming round, we're now looking southeastwards down Tavy Cleave from the other end. And further on round we can see all the Western Tors from here. Great Links Tor, now to my north. I can still see the top of Fur Tor, where I camped last night. Great Mis Tor remains a huge presence in the south. Perhaps the most welcome sight after a tough couple of days is Willsworthy Range, because just beyond that is my car. I've dropped down off Ger Tor now, and this is what it looks like from the other side. I've arrived at a very useful navigational feature, Mine Leat. There's a little bridge over it here, and I'm going to follow it in that direction. The sign on the gate here has a little warning, if we needed it, about the military firing ranges. I've covered it before on the channel, but it's worth a little recap. A leat is not natural. It's not a river or stream. It is a human dug channel for moving water from one place to another. Could be drinking water for humans or animals. In this case, it's for use in mining, and it takes water from the River Tavy to a mine somewhere over by Willsworthy. The name Mine Leat being the giveaway. Not sure if the camera will capture this, but it is alive with fish. Not far to go now, walking alongside one of the Willsworthy shooting ranges. My adventure in the middle of the North Moor, the place that 10 Tors doesn't go. And the reason it doesn't go there is because it's dangerous. In the middle of winter, large parts of that are impassable. However, we've had one of the driest years I can remember ever since I took up walking, and I've picked the most benign possible weather, and I've been able to get around it. Even then, I'm giving it a difficulty rating of 8. Okay, I was able to go everywhere I wanted to, but certainly over most of day one, it was extremely hard. There weren't that many paths. It was horrible, knee-deep, tussocky grass. You didn't know which way your foot was going to go when it landed. Very tiring, sucks the energy out of your legs. Similar early part of today, day 2. However, when I got to Ger Tor and coming along the top of Tavy Cleave and then the Mine Leat, the paths did get an awful lot better. I got to Cranmere Pool and got to do a little bit about the letterbox, which has always interested me. I got to Fur Tor. What a fantastic place for camping. Okay, an absolute bitch to get to and from, but once you're there, there is so much scope for camping and bivvying there. And then today, on the way back, Ger Tor, an extremely pleasant surprise because of the amazing views from the top of it. So, as it turns out, I've actually had a really brilliant couple of days, particularly today, and I'm really glad I did it. All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS Online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co and upbeat.io. Specific song and artist credits can be found in the comments. These videos are designed to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are not designed to be any kind of hill walking training or guidance. If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks without appropriate levels of fitness and equipment. If you don't have the required levels of knowledge and experience, only undertake them accompanied by somebody who does. You can find out more about me and my background and experience at my website, paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.